while I catch my breath. I'm going to give you guys each a piece of paper. Grab one, pass it down. There's nothing on it. It is blank. I will explain later into the lesson of why you need it. So don't write on it. Don't do anything to it until I give you the instructions. So just take one and pass it down. Oh my gosh, my calves are burning. Okay, I'm just going to start off and say, I've been sick like the last day and a half. I'm not mentally there. I'm not physically there. So bear with me. We're going to get through this lesson together. It'll be fine. So today we are going to be going over the overview in general. Well, I won't tell you yet what, because I have a game for us to play. So before I get started, I have a game for us all to play. You don't really have to go anywhere or move anywhere. This game, how you win, is you have to guess the rule of what the game is. So I'm going to give you an instruction, and you have to figure out what the rule is. It did end up changing from when I originally did it. So I'm going to give you 3 numbers. You guys can raise your hand if you want to give me another 3 numbers, but I'm going to give you 3 numbers, and they have to fit within the rule, and you're trying to guess what that rule is. Does that make sense? So I'll give you 3 numbers. You have to guess what the rule is that those 3 numbers. So if I say 2, 4, 6, you're trying to figure out what those numbers fall under. And then if you guys have any suggestions of numbers, you can raise your hand, and I'll pick you, and you can give me numbers, and I'll tell you, yes, it fits the rule, or no, it doesn't fit the rule. And once you know the rule, give me a thumbs up, and once everybody knows the rule, we'll go from there. Yeah. 2, 4, 6 is the first one. Why these 3 numbers are the way they are. So, does everybody else understand? Yeah. 8, 10, 12 fits the rule, yes. Anybody else? You know the rule, Mason knows the rule. Okay, yes. You're not sure? You know the rule? Okay. Everybody know the rule? Does anybody have another number? I'll give another one. 3, 5, 7. Is that a thumb up? You still don't know?
Wait, that's the same.
Yeah, it's all the same rule. You're trying to guess what the rule is. Everybody, yes. For the most part. Do you know yet? Okay, the first one was 2, 4, 6. Marcia said 8, 10, 12. I said 3, 5, 7. Another one, 10, 12, 14. Yeah. 1. I need 3 numbers.
Oh, sorry. 1, 9, 11.
What?
No, that does not fit the rule.
1, 3, 5.
You have to raise your hand. Yes, Josh?
I don't remember what I was
Okay.
I was going to say what Josh said, so 1, 3, 5.
1, 3, 5 fits the rule. For the most part. I'm not going to say it yet. All right, so this is kind of funny. So we are, today we are learning about a foundation of Bible study methods. In other words, how to methodically studying Scripture and how we would do that. So when we read the Bible, we want to know 3 things when we read it. And those 3 things are what we see, what it means, and how it works. In other words, how it applies. I like to say more of who it applies to better. So we are learning the 3 terms: observation, interpretation, and application. So observation, what I see. So interpretation is what it means, and how it works is application. So like this game, for most of us, it's okay. For most of us, pretty much for everybody, you're gonna, once I say it. So this game, I give you guys a rule, and the point of the game was for you to observe the rules of the game. So I gave you different numbers, 2, 4, 6, 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, 14. You had to observe, and what everybody observed was that the rule is numbers that count up by 2, right? Everybody caught on to that for the most part, hopefully. It's okay. So that was the rule. So everybody caught on that it counts up by 2. So we observed that. Once you were observing the different numbers I was saying, other people were saying, you then interpreted that the rule was up by 2. Your application then was, I told you, once you know it, give me your thumbs up. So you applied that knowledge and you followed through giving me a thumbs up. Very loosely, that is observation, interpretation, application. Is everybody following so far? Sweet. So, observation, what we see, interpretation, what it means, application, how it works. Without these 3 steps, when you start studying Scripture, your efforts of studying Scripture often come up empty because you didn't observe anything that the Bible said, and now you have no idea. Or you did observe, but you didn't actually interpret what the true meaning of it is, and you just were like, oh, cool, this says that, and doesn't mean anything after that. It's just empty words on a page. Or you start applying everything, and it's absolutely awful application afterwards. So these 3 steps are very crucial when you are studying Scripture, and we'll get into that of how. When you misuse these 3 steps, a few things happen. So if we observe things, but we only observe what we want to see, then we'll miss what the passage is actually trying to tell us, what it is just telling us. Typically, it's just in plain sight. It's just what the words say. It's not much harder than that, usually. Then if we interpret Scripture in a way that feels right or based off of our bias or our biased observation, then we never actually learned what the true intent of the passage says, and at that point we can make Scripture say anything. And if we apply what we either incorrectly observed and interpreted, or just anything, then how it actually applies doesn't matter in the end. If we didn't do our due diligence in studying it, then what we apply from Scripture doesn't matter because we're kind of just saying whatever feels right to us. Scripture is truth. Does everybody agree with that statement? Scripture is truth. Scripture is true. So if that's the case, then it's our job to understand it, not to make it fit in our bubble or our world. So we're going to be going through how observation, interpretation, and application is going to get us there. So the better the observation, the better the interpretation you'll have. And the better the interpretation, the better the application you'll have. So you're going to need those 3 crucial things when studying Scripture. Pretty naturally, people are going to do that when they are reading Scripture, but isn't always the case. When we go into observation, because that's the first step, we want to, observation is what we see. So the first step of the process is observation. And this is when we want to ask the question, and we want to answer the question of what am I seeing? We're not immediately going in and interpreting, this is what this means, and this is what this means, this is what this means. This is where we're just very blatantly going out, like if I were like, all right, let's see. I can barely tell colors. Jared is wearing blue, Brant's wearing blue, Ledford's wearing blue. Cool, look, I observed 3 different things. I'm not saying, these 3 are wearing blue because they're sad. Then I completely skipped a lot of different steps there. It is very important to go into Scripture when you're looking at that with just what the passage says, not going in with, like what I said earlier, with a biased opinion or with just that. You're not looking, I wrote specifically, you're not looking for a secret meaning or trying to crack some code, like it's the Da Vinci Code or whatever that was called. Is that what that was called? You're not trying to do that. It's not like God's trying to keep a secret from you. If he was, that's pretty dumb and pretty cruel of God to be like, I put a secret meaning in here. It's not national treasure. It's the Bible. And like we all agreed, it's truth. So it's pretty much just in your face right there. Let me see where I am. If you do that, if you start to like think there's like a secret thing missing or that could lead you to completely missing what the text is actually saying. So you'll just completely miss what the passage is just genuinely saying. It's going to be written out right for you. You're going to start interpreting all these things. You're going to miss what it's saying, and you're going to walk away and be like, here's what this says, and at no point did it ever say that. To understand this step of observation, have a video for us to watch. Let me finish explaining what I was going to say. This is a magic trick we're about to watch. You are observers. Your goal is to observe and tell me by the end of this video how he did this magic trick, okay? how the magician performed the magic trick. If you observe closely enough, you will be able to figure it out. Okay? So really watch how he does the trick so that way you can tell me how he does it. So go ahead and play the first video time. There should be volume. Could you restart it with the volume? Do we have audio? They are British.
Oh, well, that's spelling.
I think. Wait, maybe I'm crazy. I feel like he's British, but now I'm thinking I don't think he is.
Are they Canadian? Because Canadians also spell color B. What did I shop?
Well, once we get there, I'll explain. I need the audio so that way you guys actually know what's happening. If I don't have the audio, I can skip. I'll just have to move on. Well,
Can I just do a magic trick?
you could. It wouldn't be helpful. Do you know one right now
Yeah.
that you don't need supplies for?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, wait.
You just say you don't have one that you need supplies?
No, I do.
Oh, okay. Wow. Fun story. I did that to one of my kids last week. I showed them that trick, and it made him so angry that he hit me. I don't know why. That's what happened. He didn't like that I pulled my thumb off. Yeah. So he was very upset by that.
And then you performed the color changing trick on him when you punched him, right?
Yeah.
Turned from white
He went from white to bruised, yeah. To purple. That's illegal. I didn't do that. There was no record. No one can prove it. There wasn't a mark.
No one finds out.
Exactly.
It's still illegal, just doesn't get punished for it being legal.
Can you take it off the screen though so they're not watching what's happening? Please, thank you.
Are they gonna teach us how to do it?
Well, you'll see, yeah. If you observe, you'll see. Newsies or your week? What has been really good? Oh, okay. It's mid. It's mid.
You don't want Newsies?
I do. It's mid.
The movie or the musical?
They're the same.
Whoa. Oh.
Or, no.
It's the same story.
Okay, but
The
it's not
movie
the
of the
same.
musical because
Oh,
it's only a
the
movie
Newsies?
that's musical.
Newsies.
Yeah.
They just
Oh wait, are you talking about like the? Is there one that's not a musical?
the
Like
Broadway
Christian
stuff.
Bale is like,
Okay, I've never seen that one. No,
it's terrible.
didn't like the musical enough to go and watch a movie either.
So
So
did you get it in water box?
yeah, it's broken.
Yeah, just sorry.
It's like 5 or 6 times. And there's like twice.
Should I just move on then? Jared, should I just move on? Oh, great. Thank you, Jared.
Hi, I'm Richard, this is Sarah, and we're going to perform the amazing colour-changing card trick with this blue-backed deck of cards. Now the idea is very simple. I'm just going to spread the cards in front of Sarah and ask her to push any card towards the camera.
Right, okay, let's see. I'm going to go for this card here.
Okay. Now Sarah could have selected any card at all from the deck, but she selected the card which is now face down on the table. And what I'm going to ask her to do is show us which card she selected.
Right, so the card that I chose was in fact the 3 of diamonds.
The 3 of diamonds, okay, excellent choice. That card goes back into the deck. Now I'm just going to spread the cards face up on the table. Give a little click of the fingers, and you'll see that Sarah's card here has now got a blue back. Not particularly surprising. What's slightly more surprising is all of the other cards have got red backs. And that is the amazing colour-changing card trick.
Okay, so observing that, who knows right now how he pulled, like how he switch the cards from blue to red? Anybody know? All right, so likely you probably missed it. I think there's a few people. If I had to guess, a few people probably observed it. Do you know how he? You know how he did it? Okay. So we're gonna play now the next video.
And that is the amazing colour-changing card trick.
All right, so you might have caught on to a couple here and there halfway through the video, the more major changes. You might not have seen any at all. The point of that is to say, I told you immediately, go in and look at the cards, and then he was there and he kept your attention at the cards. So with observation, if we go into scripture and we read immediately going in with something, like assuming something about what the passage is going to say, we typically miss what is actually in front of us. So if we go in looking just at the cards, because that's what you're just immediately thinking of, you miss all the changes, the shirts, the tablecloth, and the background. You miss all of that. So for us to do that, had I just told you guys, go in and tell me everything that you observe about the video, you probably would have walked away a lot more of like, oh, this changed, and I didn't notice everything, but I noticed more. You would have had a wider understanding of what happened in that video. For us, in observation, to help us, there's some tools that we can use. When we observe, we can break it down into 4 helpful tips to help us observe the passage. Those 4 tips, the first one is terms. We can look at terms. The second one is structure. The third one is literary form. And the fourth one is our atmosphere. So for the first term, when we are trying to observe the text, we can look at terms. A term is more than just a word. It's a key word that is crucial to what the author has to say because it shows what the meaning typically is. In Howard Hendricks' books, he says that in the book of John, the word believe appears no less than 79 times, and it's always used as a verb and not a noun. I didn't know it was used that many times in the book of John, so that's cool. And what that means is used as a verb. Does everybody know what a verb is versus a noun? A verb is an action, a noun is a person, place, or a thing. So that tells us, if we know the term, that, okay, when we see believe in the context of reading John, we know it's an action, then we can say believe there is an action. I'm not going to go into all of that, but that would then have to tell us what is that action. Is that a cognitive, action we're intentionally taking? Is that one that just it passively happens? And that's a whole other lesson of what that could be. I feel like I hear an echo a lot into my ear right now, which is really distracting me. So that is the terms that we are trying to. So terms, that helps us understand the author's main point. So when we're observing, you can start looking at stuff and start looking at terms of things. Because if you start looking at things and just start taking it as face value of maybe you thought belief and every time is a noun, and you start reading through John, then you're going to be really confused with what the passage is actually saying. Next, we have terms. The next one is structure. So there are 2 basic kinds of structure. The first is the grammatical structure. In order to study effectively, you must read it with the grammar in mind. So that means knowing what the subject is of the sentence, what the object is, what the main verb is. The more you know about the grammar, the more you can get out of the passage. If you don't literally know who it's talking to, who is speaking, and what person is being spoken to, the object in which is being... If you don't know any of that, you're going to be very confused. So learning that. The second is... the literary structure? Yeah, the literary structure. So we have the grammatical structure and then the literary structure. So literary structure, that includes things like the questions and answers, the climax and resolution, the cause and effect, contrast comparisons, and so on. It helps us understand the way the author arranged the flow of the text. So it's not just written in any way, shape, or form. In any writings, if you wrote a letter or something, there is a flow of thought. So that is the way that Scripture is written. There is a flow of thought, and so grammatical structure tells us how sentences work, and literary structures tells us how the ideas flow, more or less. So first terms, then structure. Our next one is the literary form. This point, I think, is fairly simple, but it is also very, 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 very important. Literary form tells us the genre of what we're reading. So, for example, if we're reading scripture, are we reading Hebrew poetry, or are we reading like Psalms, or are we reading a epistle of Paul? Like, what are we reading? You're not going to read with the same thought behind each one. If you ignored literary form in anything you read, you'd become quickly confused. So, for example, if you read a murder mystery as though it were the local news, you would think people are dying left and right and being poisoned, and Miss Barnaby was stabbed and pushed down the stairs, and you have no idea who that is. You would think that that was real, even though it's just fiction, it's just a fictional murder mystery. If you were to read song lyrics as though they were historical events, you might think Let It Go from Frozen was a historical event where a queen froze her whole kingdom, and now she's just doing whatever she wants to do. You'd be very confused. So even nowadays, when we read lyrics, when we read poems, when we read novels, stories, fiction, history, letters that people wrote to us, we understand the idea behind that. We understand the genre, the literary form. So when you're reading scripture, you need to know the literary form before or as you're going into, before you just, that's a part of the observation that you're going to be making. You need to know that, or else you will be lost in what the purpose of that is. If you start reading poetry, like if you start reading Psalms and you start reading it as a command to all believers, that's going to get weird really fast. It's going to be just not make any sense. So literary form tells us the rules for how a passage should be read. That gives us the idea of where the author is going. And the last for observing, so the last point is atmosphere. So we've had terms, structure, literary form, and last we have atmosphere. Atmosphere. Observing the atmosphere is picking up on the setting, or even sometimes can even be the emotions of the author that they're writing. Observing the atmosphere includes a lot of things like where the passage is taking place, who the passage is being spoken to, what is currently happening during that time. Is there, if you're reading, was there a famine that was happening? And so what the words that are being spoken are a lot more relevant when it's talking about hunger. It's not just like us where we could eat 24/7 and then you miss a meal and you're hungry. Very different. So understanding all those things, who it's talking to, getting to know the atmosphere, the placing, almost like getting yourself in the shoes of the author, having your ear to the ground of what was happening. That's the atmosphere. So an atmosphere helps us step into the scene of the passage. So those are our 4 tips for when we're observing, and that's very loose. So terms, they help us understand the author's main point. Structure, the 2 types, grammatical, which helps us know how the sentences work, and literary, which shows us how the ideas flow, and then your literary form, which shows us the rules of how a passage should be read, and the atmosphere, which helps us know, step into the scene of the passage. There's a lot more in general with observing and just what you can observe. We are going to go into a lot more with observing. This is just a main idea so you guys can understand a more broad idea of what observation is. Observation is just what I see. It's not what not what is being interpreted. It is just very blatantly of what do I see? What am I seeing when I'm reading this? And these are good tips to help you find what you're seeing, is to start picking at these things. So after our observation, our next step goes into interpretation. Let's see. Big thing is our interpretation is going to be based off of our observation. So I can't stress it enough, but our observation is probably one of the most important steps because without it, that's what we're basing everything off of is what we've observed. So you're not going to really get far if you don't observe well. So this is the step, now we're into interpretation. This is the step where we ask the question, what does it mean? So first, what do I see? And now, what does it mean? If we do our just as observation, then our interpretation is going to be a lot better. So I need, let's see, I'll do 7 volunteers, I think. Should be enough, and it can be mentors too. But I need 7 volunteers. All right, so Drea, Hendrix, Brant, James, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Remy, Jesse, 6. We'll do Ledford 7. So you guys can come up here. You guys can stand in front of the stage. I don't care where you stand. Just get in a line. So we are going to all say the same sentence, not at the same time. We're going to say the same sentence. I never said she stole my money. We're all going to say, I never said she stole my money. We're going to say it one at a time. But, Drea, you're going to start first, and you're going to put the emphasis on the first word, I.
I never said she stole my money.
Now, Hendrix, you're going to put the emphasis on never. I never said she stole my money.
Say it loud.
You're going to put do you know what emphasis is? Like you exaggerate that word, you bring that word out more. So you're going to on never.
Wait, I never said she stole my money.
Yeah.
I never said she stole my money.
James, you're going to say said. You're going to exaggerate said.
Never said she stole my money.
Brant, you're going to exaggerate she.
I never said she stole my money.
Remy, you're going to say stole.
I never said she stole my money.
Jess, you're going to say my.
I never said she stole my money.
And Ledford, you're going to say money.
I never said she stole my money.
All right, you guys can go ahead and sit down. Thank you, thank you. So, within that, I never said she stole my money. We just had 7 different interpretations of what that could be. Did she steal my money? Did she not steal my money? Did she steal my money? Did she not steal my money? Did she not steal? Like, it changes of who, it changes of who's accusing who. Everything about that sentence can change. So our interpretation can completely change. So, have we done our observation better? We probably would have understood which one we were trying to get. If I gave you the context maybe of, ma'am, we found the man that stole your money. Well, I never said she stole my money. Then we would understand the context of that. The money was the emphasis. So if we do our observation, we'll understand that better. But this, because it has so many many different interpretations, this is where interpretation can get messy. If we immediately go into the interpretation, we read, she never stole my money. Oh, okay, well, I know I never said she stole my money. I know that he's saying that she never once stole my money. Like, you're putting the exaggeration on the never. But if you do your observation better, you're going to realize that the interpretation is completely different. That's not what it's meaning. So that's why a big interpretation is going to rely heavily on your observational skills of what you're actually observing. To help, though, with your interpretation, there can be these 3 things very quickly of what you can do when you get into the interpretation. So your first thing when you get into interpretation is you can bombard the scripture with just questions. As many questions as you can think of. The Bible is truth, like we all agree, so it's not ever going to be scared to answer your questions because it's not going to change its answer. So always ask the questions. You might not always find the answers or even get the answers you want, but more times than not, you are going to find the answers. So if the first one is to bombard it with questions, ask as many questions as you can, then the second step to while we're going in the interpretation phase is a follow-up of we have to answer those questions. We can't just leave those questions unanswered. We have to then follow up and answer as many, if not all, we want to answer all of them. So answer all of our questions. Again, you might not like the answers you get. You might have a harder time finding them, but if you're going to ask them, you have to follow up with the answer to them. You can't just leave questions on loose ends. And then the third, after you've asked your questions and after you've answered the questions, you have to do the third step, which is integration. You have to combine it all together. this is kind of finally where you have like a bunch of different pieces of the passage that you've been observing, you've been dissecting, you're in interpretation, you're looking at. This is where you kind of take it all together and now you put it all into one. And if you've done your due diligence in observation and now you're observing, it all should just make sense. It shouldn't just be, your interpretation shouldn't be like, oh, and this is speaking to this person, and this is now for that, and this is where this applies. Like, it all should be, most likely, one train of thought in speaking, should all make sense within that context. So you'll want to ask the questions, answer your questions, and then put it all together and look at it as a whole. Look at the big picture of it. So after we've done our observation, we've done our interpretation, we then fall on to our application. So everybody take your paper now that I gave you. So now, let's see, does somebody know how to fold a paper airplane super easily? That could teach us very quick. Josh, you can come up and show us in a very few quick steps of how to do it.
Alright.
And everybody follow him.
Alright, so you're going to take it like this, and you're going to fold it in half, across, the long way.
Hot dog, hot dog.
So that way you get the line going through the long ways. Then you go the top left corner down to the middle. Ish area. So it'd be like a house. And you do the same thing on the other side. Everything will be symmetrical. So everything you do on one side, you're going to do on the other side too. Now what you're going to do is you're going to do that one more time and take this long side and pull it down the middle.
Make your house small.
And then you're going to then you can do the same thing on the other side again. Remember symmetry. Right now it should look like this. This is called the classic dart. Now you're going to fold it in half like this. And you're going to go back like this. And you have this shape. Now you're going to take one of the sides and fold it down flat like this. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side and fold that side down flat too. So remember, symmetry.
Beautiful. They don't need to be perfect, everybody. Thank you, Josh. You can go have a seat. All right, hold on to those airplanes, everybody. Hold on to them tight. Give me a thumbs up when you have it folded, so I know everybody, if not, everyone is done. Good. Good. It doesn't need to be perfect. Once you're done, hold on to it. Clench it tight in your hand. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Almost done. Alrighty, now that you have made these airplanes, hold on to them tight. I want you to take your airplane that you have so carefully made, and I want you to crumble it up and put it under your chair. Yes, crumble it up and put it under your chair. Well, crumble it up and put it under your chair. It was nice. And then you crumbled. I don't know why you crumbled it, but go ahead and crumble your paper airplane up. Toss it under your chair. Alrighty, so we are on the step of application. This is, we are looking at, like we've been saying, how it works. But specifically when we say how it works, more so of like how it works in the sense of who is it applying to? Because when we're reading scripture, it applies to somebody. It's not just there for poops and giggles. It's there for a reason, but it doesn't always apply to us. So when we're reading scripture, we want to, after we've observed everything and we've interpreted it, we are then seeing, does it apply to us as modern day, as us current believers who are still alive, or did it apply to way back when, during the Mosaic Law? Because things aren't applying to all of us, or things that are applying to us now did not apply to people, or aren't applying to people in the past because they're dead, and it can't apply to them because they're dead. So you have to know who is it applying to. So when we say how it works, it's how, who is it applying to. Now again, if you do your due diligence with observation, it'll make the understanding of that a lot easier. It's going to kind of just make more sense. of who it is talking to. So how it applies is more of who is it applying to. It applied to somebody at some point, or it currently applies, and it's your job to find out at that point who it applies to. But sometimes it does apply to us as current believers. So be warned, because if you are going to study Scripture and you find something that does apply to you, then you better be ready to apply it and make changes in your life if you are not following it. If you're not willing to grow and change when Scripture tells you or tells us that we should, then there wasn't a point of even studying it in the first place. If you're not going to apply it for growth, then what was the point of learning it? If it wasn't to better your relationship with Christ, there was no point. So just like these airplanes that we all made, I made them. What's the purpose of a paper airplane? To throw it, right? To fly. An airplane, paper airplane is to fly. You throw it, it's to fly. Did our paper airplane serve its purpose? No. So I had you guys do I'll make your paper airplanes, crumble them up, because that's kind of what happens. If we observe, we interpret, and we find application, and it's something that applies to us, we're basically just like our useless paper airplanes. We did all the work, and then we crumbled it and threw it aside. We really didn't need to do that at that point if we weren't willing to throw the airplane, if we weren't willing to grow. So be warned when you are reading Scripture, sometimes there are things that apply to you, and you have to be willing to change. Sometimes it doesn't always, though. So don't assume everything in the Bible applies to you, because it doesn't. So the biggest important thing is observation is so important. Your observation is what's going to lead you. When you have the better the observation, the better the interpretation. And the better the interpretation, the better the application. So when we study, we want to use these 3 steps. Observation is what I see. Interpretation is what it means. And application is how it works, or who does it apply to. So that is what we're going to start going over. We're going to pick up after next week's the party. After that, we're going to pick up in observation. We're going to do an even deeper dive into that, of how that works. But as an overview, that is how we study the Scripture, and that's how we understand what Scripture says, is we apply observation, interpretation, and application. Thank you. And now we have to do the gospel.